I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I'm actually feeling pretty good because I got my new Rams shirt. Actually, this is the second new Rams shirt. I wore this first one yesterday during the happy hour, but this one I like. Hey, Bob Fagel, you there, Bob? How you like that? All right. Anyway, we are the CRM players. Had to get that out of my. Had to get that. I was gonna say I had to get that off my chest, but I really had to get it
Uh,
on my chest.
wow. Well, it's like you're wearing the Rams medallion, right? It's like you've been anointed. You've been anointed. I mean, I've been watching probably a little too many of these kind of movies with sorcerers in them. So
The
everything.
Warrior Nun.
Well, which has become my new favorite binge watch. Warrior.
I like that. I watched the whole thing too. It
Well,
was really
I
good.
watched it because you did, basically. When you, that's why I asked you what you thought, and you liked it. And I turned it on, and in like 10 minutes or so, I was into it, and that was it. I watched the whole thing straight through, all 10 episodes.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might want to just go ahead and start talking about CRM stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
We could be here all day talking about the Warrior Nun. But anyway, so yeah, it's another Thursday. Our 2010th straight week of doing the CRM players.
Which is amazing, actually, for reasons that if you weren't listening too closely to Brent, you might not know, but if you were listening and heard the number, he said, you should be able to figure out why it's amazing.
Yes, it is. Okay, so I think as usual, we have a lot of stuff. We have look at this. We got our first comment. Yeah, we are telling some stories.
Amen.
We're telling stories. We're going to be talking with another. He's coming back. He seems to be coming back a lot more ever since he crossed over to the dark side.
Well,
But our buddy, our apocalyptic buddy, our pestilence buddy,
digital pestilence buddy.
digital pestilence is joining us in a few minutes. That would be the one and only Esteban Kolsky.
Well,
Yeah. And we got something for him, by the way. We have something ready for him.
and then
and we also, are we getting close to the end of the watch list winner segments here?
the last. So this is today, Creatio, right? And we have Eric Hale, who's the global director for Global director for sales
enablement. I think is what it. Yeah.
We'll get into that someday. Maybe we'll even talk to him about this enablement thing. Enablement, acceleration, sales. It's like they're all pretty much the same thing. And then and next week.
Wait a minute. What does that mean, Sven? Does that mean you don't have anything to say, or
it means he's thinking?
He's thinking about something to say. Okay.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. He's thought, and this is what he came up with.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know. That looks like a kind of a skeptical kind of thing.
Skeptical about sales enablement, sales intelligence, sales acceleration, sales optimization, which is all the same thing. And otherwise, so Eric Hale, who's global director of sales, one of those, is coming on. And next week, last one, Adobe. Adobe's the
wow.
Can't tell you
the last one.
Yeah.
That's pretty. How many have that been then? I mean,
will be 13 weeks.
Straight. Wow. That's pretty good. But guess what? We do have something to put into place of the watch list winner segment. We think you're going to like it. We think, wait a minute. This is hey.
Man, hey.
All right. He's back from last week.
Well, maybe he never left.
As I like to say, Edward
StreamYard. It's after we're done.
It's Edward R. Barrow.
How you doing?
Good night and good luck. Yes, there it is. I just like saying that. No, so we're going to do something because we need to fill the time, basically, of the watch list winner segment, and we do tend to get a lot of questions around all the stuff that we've been using to put this together. I know one of the most popular things or questions I get is, how do you get that video looking so good?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do you guys, the sound is way better than it was when you first got started. except for that sound. I don't even know what that sound is.
That was Esteban saying the StreamYard link I sent him didn't have the meeting. It was just generic.
Wow, that was a high pitched sound from Esteban. I'm not used to that.
I will take care of it right now for him.
Yeah, please handle him, because we don't want him to be irritable when he joins us in a few minutes, because that could, he's kind of hard to take when he's not irritable. But that's besides the point.
See if I can.
All right. Well, while he's doing that, I'll just keep pitching the new segment we're going to do. It's going to be CRM Playaz Tech, because we do get a lot of questions about how, what streaming services are we using, what cameras, what mics, what lighting, because let's face it, more and more people are doing these things because we're all still sheltering in place for the most part. So you're seeing more and more people doing live streaming. So we're going to try to help. We're going to try to help people get up to speed and maybe use some of the stuff, maybe some of the tips and tricks that we have put together to put this on. Let's see what Thomas is saying. Video can't be bad with the. Oh, Thomas.
What did he say?
He's buttering us up. But I like butter, so that's okay. I like butter, and it's parquet. Anyway.
Oh my yes. God, man. That one, you literally have to be of a certain age.
All right. So yeah. So when the watch list winner segments are finished, and I guess after next week, we're going to start our CRM Playaz video tech segment. So what we'd like for you to do to get prepared, for us to get prepared to do that segment, we would love for you to send us any questions you have, any things you're interested in learning around doing live stream video, around getting the right lighting, around getting good sound, or why did we choose this mic? Sven has already got the mic choice. I see that. There it is. I'm not using that one though, Sven. I'm using the Electro Voice RE20. But we'll get further into that when we do these segments, starting in I guess week after next. So send in your questions, send in things that you're interested in learning. We will be taking those. We maybe even bring you on screen, so to speak, to ask us, and we'll talk about it. So that will happen after the last watch list winner segment, which will be next week, which will be Adobe.
Right. And again, now I am using the Shure SM7B, by the way. And although you'll note my video this week is slightly degraded because I'm actually building a studio across the hall, literally across the hall of my house. It'll take me another 2 or 3 weeks to complete. That is a massive upgrade. It's coming from an empty room from scratch being built up. And in the meantime, I'm pretty much shuttling the Shure mic back and forth between the rooms. And other than that, I'm using a webcam again instead of my cameras, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't be quite the level Brent is, but don't take that as anything bad.
Hey, we'll talk about why choosing a mic is a very personal decision. It's not one mic fits all, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. You'll have to come back in 2 weeks. And like I said, send us whatever you want us to cover. We will be glad to do it. That will be in 2 weeks.
And
okay.
Wait, one other announcement.
Okay.
So it looks like the Battle of the Bands is now getting serious. Okay, we're not going to go into details yet. Brent and I are finalizing the criteria ranging from what the entries have to look like, how they have to be recorded, the whole thing, right? What the winners are going to get, how you win, it works. But we've got, I think it's 5 or 6 commitments, literally committed companies who are committing bands to this battle, to this massive global war that we're creating for bands, for vendor bands. And we're looking at either 10 or 15. We haven't figured that out. Within the next 24, 48 hours, we'll have it all done. And then word will go out. If you have a band that's interested in participating, let us know. Okay, let us know on Facebook, LinkedIn. Just say our company wants to be. Send an email to me or Brent I'm at Paul-Greenberg3 at the56group.com, and we're going to go from there. So to answer Sahil really quickly, Battle of the Bands is vendor companies who do have bands are going to compete to beat the other vendor companies. As simple as that. And there will be some sort of award for doing that. Except I know that I found that out from SAP today, Ed. However, I said bands, right? So that is a single, one person does not a band make, right? So look, you want her to sing, do it, but have an orchestra behind her. Other than that, you can't do it. She doesn't qualify. No one person bands. Sorry.
No, but if you have interesting instruments to add to the band, like I suggest, since I know Zoho is in the Battle of the Bands, I suggest they take advantage of a unique talent that they do have, and we all know who that talent is. That's Sandy Lowe, who is one of the supreme piano players there is in the industry. I don't even know if there are any others, but she's one of the supremes. Well, not one of the Diana Ross Supremes, but she's a supreme piano player.
So, well, one other thing, by the way, if you are a member of the Facebook Kazoo group, you are banned from the Battle of the Bands. No kazoo. Sorry.
So, are we still looking for a name for this thing? Somebody tweeted out or said last week, Playapalooza or something like that. I'm not sure about that.
Play a stock. We had a lot
of
play a stock. Yeah, I don't have a clue. But when we announce it, we'll have a name for it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll have a name.
Do that to us. We got it. We got this covered.
Oh, yes. So Sahil has definitely heard Sandy play. She is amazing.
Yes, she is.
All right.
She is.
So,
all
right. So before we bring it's hard to call him a guest. You know, I guess he's technically a guest, but he ain't really a guest. We don't treat him like a guest.
No.
But we do have to do something that we only do for Esteban Kolsky. And wait till you see the little name that he's put up. But before we can bring him on and show him the name, we have to do
all right.
So let me grab full and do this. And here we go.
All the people with the backwards attitude, pointing fingers, and that's a bad excuse for sitting on your ass when you complain.
All right. Now we can go forward because that was the disclaimer. We got it out of the way. And so now that we have disclaimed whatever happens next, here he is, folks, the one and only Digital Pestilence, E the Horseman.
I'm making sure it remains social just for you guys.
Social distancing, and he's only there by himself. But, you know.
Well, yeah, nobody will stay here with me.
Okay, now that's how you make an entrance. How did you like your new non-disclaimer or disclaimer?
I like that. Actually, thanks for putting that together for me. I like it. It's perfect.
You can count on it every time the show's on.
Maybe not even when you're on. We might just play it anyway. But
no, I feel like you guys have spent too much time worrying about what I'm gonna say. That's all.
No, there's never enough time spent on that. So
we're never worried either.
I'll make a deal. I was telling Paul earlier. I am not gonna mention any vendor names in this one.
Deal.
Okay, that's interesting. If you do somehow slip, what do we get if you do slip up?
You get the pink slip that I get if I sleep.
Oh, look who's here! Look who's with us. I hope she heard us. I hope she heard us talking about her playing piano for Zoho in the Battle of the Bands. So
notice her. Did you notice her picture?
Yep.
Yeah, she's sheltering in place and she's social distancing and all that.
Esteban and she were clearly kindred.
I can see that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you definitely heard your name. So yeah,
Sandy, but you'll have to listen on the recording because we're not repeating it.
No. Okay, so Mr. Kolsky actually came. The reason that he's on right now is because he was actually listening to watching Amazon yesterday with me and the cold one, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson. I have to say that.
Which, by the way, the cold and bold, and you do a tremendous job in that show. If people don't watch it, they should watch it. You know.
Oh wow! Thanks, man. All right, well, that's all that we have time with Esteban. But no, the reason that he wanted to come on is we got into this interesting conversation about who should buy what when it comes to commerce. Yeah. And a lot of it centered around who should buy Shopify, or should Shopify buy something? Should Instagram buy Pinterest? Somebody said Instagram should buy Pinterest, something like that. But anyway,
people.
And of course, our buddy had a couple of opinions, but he wanted to wait for our show to express those opinions. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to give him the full screen treatment.
Wow.
There it is. And so, Mr. E. the Horseman, tell us what you wanted to talk about today that came about from yesterday's conversation.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's make it very simple. The reason I wanted to come here is I want to have a very interesting conversation about commerce. As you probably determined in the last few months, weeks, whatever. I don't know where we are. Are we in March yet or not yet? Right. So as you probably determined in the last few months, weeks, whatever, commerce has become a key player. And you know, we are, you know, obviously like any other vendor, and I won't say anything about what we're doing. We're really tackling this. So I had a lot of time to go through it. And the thing that was interesting yesterday is, like, you know, we were discussing the concept of using Shopify for commerce, creating a different commerce strategy. How do you scale this? How does Amazon compete, or Shopify compete with Amazon? Amazon compete with Shopify? How does Instagram and Facebook and all these people compete? And creates a very, very interesting ecosystem that, if I'm not mistaken, probably everybody else in attendance is going through the same concepts right now, right? Trying to understand, you know, what they're doing in this, trying to come up with a strategy. So I thought that it would be interesting to put, you know, the different players in the right context, and to put some, you know, options. And again, I'm not going to mention vendor names. I'm not making an advertising for SAP, although we are the best, of course. But outside of that, I won't do that, right? But if you're actually looking at commerce, then what is the strategy that I need to actually do going forward? And then, you know, there's a very clear distinction between what we used to do for commerce, what we tried to do in the last few months, and where we're going to be going forward, right? You know, number one, what we used to do for commerce is, like, you're watching TV, something comes up, you open a browser, you go to the website for that place, you go through the browser experience, which is awesome, one of the best things ever, highly personalized, targeted to what you're looking for, easy to find the product, right? Best thing ever. That's the way that we used to do it, and that doesn't work for most of the reasons. But the one that was interesting that you guys were discussing, Amazon has the ability to create something that nobody else can, and so does Facebook. Facebook owns Instagram and you know, Facebook and WhatsApp, I think, right?
Yep.
So between those three, they have virtually every communication that goes on in the world. So how about if we actually change this and we say commerce changed from being e-commerce to being commerce everywhere, right? And this is what my esteemed boss calls it, where if you're on Instagram and you see a picture and the picture highlights 20 products that somebody took the time to highlight with dedicated links to the specific places, you push a button, and using Apple Pay on the phone or Android Pay on the phone also, you get it, and it gets delivered to your house 2 days, 3 days, 5 days later, right? It's a huge difference between what we used to do on this model. And I think that the part that would be interesting to discuss is, like, you know, how does Amazon actually compete with Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp? And then how do companies compete in this model as well? That's what I wanted to actually bring up. Very, very brief summary. So is that aligned with what you understood, or am I, you know?
Yep. And I'm
no. Okay, go ahead and switch.
And I want Mr. PG to take a first stab at that.
You know what? I mean, I absolutely, obviously agree that that commerce has become a much more significant. When I say significant, really, I see it as an intersection between transaction and engagement at a major level, right? Meaning, when it boils down to it, with e-commerce, when it's working properly, it effectively a transaction just is another interaction, right? It's not just a pure transaction. And so there's a lot of highly individualized information you can get from it, and approaches you can take to it that will affect the impact and nature of the transaction itself, which, usually for us, as you know, over time, even with the historic CRM, it was always like an end game. Transaction was an end game. It was like that was what things were supposed to result in. Now it's not, and that's thanks to e-commerce. Now, just to be clear, something I've been saying for a decade, it's not the fourth pillar of CRM. Okay, I'm just stopping there, right? It's not. Okay, so it's commerce. Okay, commerce.
No, we cannot discuss vendors, so let's leave it at that.
Well, no, we can't. Well, your current company and couple other companies tried to put that one over on me a few times. Let's tell
you what, let's do this. It is not the fourth pillar of CRM, but it's one of the 5 key pillars of CX. How's that?
That's fair.
No, that's
okay.
it.
Again, it's the only distinction I'm making there is it's not CRM.
I agree with you 100%. It's not CRM.
But it's part of the broader, well, for me, engagement. Right? But yes, and again, I think the key has been the increase in significance of it. Partly due to Amazon, but also partly, or probably primarily due to the fact people demand much higher levels of individual. And
all the values,
right? It changes things. So it changes it, as I said, from interaction and transaction being separate to transaction being an additional interaction that goes along that kind of ecosystem and evolution. So, which is a very different approach, and it's critical to that. Now, what that means in terms of Instagram, Pinterest, Shopify, I'm not sure it's a versus Amazon anymore. Amazon is kind of its own entity that's not going to. Let's say this: no one's going to make that big dig that deep a cut into Amazon. Really, it's not going to. I do think Amazon's not going to fall apart, right? But that's not
what it's about.
No, I know it's not. That's kind of the point. It's not about that.
You said something that it was critical. You said it's not part of CRM, and we agree on that, right? But here's the thing: has lagged behind CRM in things like personalization, segmentation, reuse of the data privacy concerns, all these things that CRM has been doing for years, commerce lags. So by making it part of an integrated model of CX, you actually gain that value of that, right?
That's fair. That's fine. Again, it's an ecosystem and ecosystems and platforms of this world, and that's part of the ecosystem. I agree with you.
Yeah, but I take exception to what you said. I mean, it is an Amazon versus Instagram, Pinterest versus the brands themselves. But the thing is, like, the numbers are so staggering. It's $108 trillion in transacted volume on commerce. It doesn't matter if Amazon only gets $1 trillion of that and Pinterest gets another $1 trillion, right? We're not talking numbers that are competitive, but it is a question of capturing the attention and capturing the data. And we go back to what I was just saying. If your goal is to retain data so you can improve personalization, you can improve transactions going forward, you need to be able to capture Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Amazon as a separate, Google as a separate, which is becoming more of a player every day, Walmart as a separate, which is where we started yesterday in the conversation, and get all those inputs into a common platform to aggregate the data and deliver commerce against all those.
No argument whatsoever. Absolutely agree with you. I'm just saying Amazon is not going to sit there and be concerned with Shopify and Walmart. They're not at the level that they're concerned about it. And I just don't think that's, and I don't think it matters really. I think what matters is more to your point is the massive amounts of data that allow for much better overall interactions with customers, and not just the richness of it, just the amount of it alone is just.
So let me try that in a different way. GMV, gross merchandise value, the amount of volume that is transacted in a commerce platform, right? I tell you, I've been studying for this. I'm ready, boss. Ask me any questions. But the GMV, right? The largest GMV in the world is for Alibaba, and the associated is $1.2 trillion or something like that. Then Amazon is there's another company that's number 2, but I'm not allowed to mention it. But then Amazon is number 3 with about 320 billion last year. Shopify, the reason that Amazon should be concerned is Shopify was less than 10 billion 3 years ago, and it was 60 billion 2 years ago. In the same time frame, but the thing is, like, they're growing. It becomes a concern when they start encroaching in your business. This is why Amazon should be like, how do we actually tackle this versus saying, oh, there's just for SMBs and we don't care. Amazon's the amount of business that Amazon drives through their third-party marketplace is less now than what Shopify drives on its own, and it used to be more. So it is a concern,
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Brent.
No, I was just going to add a couple of things in there. So Shopify is interesting in the fact that, part of what Esteban just said is that's definitely interesting, but it's also the relationships they've been building kind of under the cover and starting to roll it. They picked an interesting time to roll it out. They picked a time where Amazon was kind of under attack because the pandemic hit and everybody was forced to start buying stuff online, and they all went to Amazon, and Amazon was not ready for it. They got a lot of bad press. They had a lot of things to fix. And while Amazon was kind of treading, ground, Shopify was making some really interesting moves. They announced that a partnership was with Facebook. They announced another partnership with, I can't remember the name of the company, but they started strategically looking to recruit third-party sellers. They started building these relationships, and they started getting a lot of people's attention. And then there's that question that came out around should an S be added to Fang, which was completely ridiculous, but because there's still small potatoes in the big scheme, but they're bigger potatoes than they were just a few months ago. And I was like, well, what if Walmart bought them?
Right.
What if a player that's a big time player, but still fighting an upward battle with Amazon, what if they bought them? Now, Walmart has a pretty bad track record because they bought Jet.com for $3.3 billion and then said adios to it just this year. So I don't know if that's going to be the right way to go.
But they lost 1.5 billion in between the moment they said hello and goodbye. So forget that part.
So who would be, because Shopify on their own, they can't do it. They can't compete with Amazon. So who would be the right company to take Shopify to the next level? And Shopify would take them to the next level when it comes to commerce.
Well, Sam, you actually named the company, but they have historically failed multiple times with companies like that. And they did it on their own too, right? So we named a couple of companies that, well, he won't say it because he took a pledge not to say it. I threw up Microsoft. I thought Microsoft, there's not a lot out there to buy anymore. I know we had Episerver on. We talked about them a little bit, but Shopify is such is the one with the bullet right now. Shopify is somebody brought up BigCommerce. I don't see any juice around BigCommerce whatsoever. So I didn't even put them in the equation. But Shopify, if the right person or the right organization bought Shopify, that could be something that makes Amazon stand up and pay a little more attention than they are right now. If we're going on the vendor side, and unfortunately Esteban can't respond to this.
We had to take advantage of him not being able to respond to stuff.
Respond as long as you subject the disclaimer that whatever I say doesn't represent your strategy.
Your job at SAP, right? So you would be right. Microsoft would be one of the better options on the vendor, probably the best option on the vendor side. Facebook isn't, no, because Facebook is in the middle of disaster at this point.
And there's nothing worse than putting a consumer company of an enterprise tech fight.
Exactly, and that's happened so many goddamn times.
Talk about bringing a banana to a laser fight.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So is Shopify an enterprise company? Because
let's say look,
could be
bought them. Although there's a big reason why they probably, if Microsoft bought them, they'd have to scale them. But otherwise, it's not worth it. Now, that said, Microsoft has what they call, no, you can't respond to this one, a scalable commerce product already. They have a commerce cloud. They developed it on their own. It's out. I can't say it's good or bad. I really haven't seen it.
Yeah, we brought that up yesterday.
Yeah.
And you're saying about the same thing that,
Yeah.
that I said about that.
But it's there. I mean, so the odds of them buying another platform after they've spent all this time not buying companies like Episerver, who I thought they should have bought a while ago, and scaling them, will pretty much say that they're probably not going to want to put the money out that it would cost them to buy Shopify at this point. I unless they
do you know how much Shopify is going for? What's the valuation for Shopify?
I have no clue.
What the valuation currently?
Yeah, for Shopify?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, or is it? Did somebody say it was like 60 billion or something like that? Seems like
60 billion is the GMV, the gross merchandise value last year.
Maybe Amazon can buy.
I don't know but it's in the 10 to 20 billion range, I believe, the last valuation.
So that means then Amazon buys them, takes money out of their penny jar and buys them, right? And buys them and gives them to the market.
No, but the point that I was making at that value proposition is hard for the CRM CX vendors to justify that type of acquisition.
Yeah, and it honestly doesn't make. Look, I mean, we saw Adobe bought Magento. Magento is still being scaled up, and Adobe and Magento has a lot of specific places they do well in. And if Adobe was smart, and I think Adobe is smart, they'll keep them there, right? Like they do well in a number of different kind of vertical markets, right? And so Magento was probably for Adobe a reasonable acquisition, and it was mid-market to begin with, and Adobe's been spending a lot of time.
And they bought it at the right time, because if they had waited a year and bought it this year, that price would have been astronomically larger because of all the shifts that took place with the pandemic.
And I will take one other thing that on the
Shopify's market cap is $122 billion as of close.
Wow,
Jesus Christ!
I was off by half.
Yeah.
So, guessing Microsoft's not going to have much.
Nobody's buying them right now.
No. So anyway, the thing is that
yes, we're doing repair. He's a gentleman wearing a mask, so it's okay.
He's wearing a mask and he's taking stuff. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, a long time ago, that might have been.
I had a blind in my office for like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm just like burning up every day. So finally, we got a blind. Yeah.
We gotta actually put a cap on this, because we do have the watch list winner segment, and our guest is, I think I saw filing in. So where do we stand with this? Do we think, in order for somebody to seriously compete with Amazon, does somebody have to buy a Shopify in order to really strike fear in the heart of Amazon where they live?
So why are you discounting that Shopify itself can strike fear where Amazon lives? Look at the growth rate for Shopify versus Amazon. I mean, you got to compare the third-party marketplace from Amazon to Shopify, which is the most fair comparison that you have, right? I mean, in all honesty. I mean, what Amazon can do directly, Amazon provides logistics to the third-party marketplace that Shopify cannot deliver, but the point-to-point comparison is like mom-and-pop shops that go through Shopify through mom-and-pop shops that go through Amazon.
I think I just think in order to really compete with Amazon, you have to come at it from a number of different businesses and perspectives.
Yes.
Shopify does not have an AWS. Shopify doesn't have a 200 million member community like Amazon Prime. They don't have this digital ad platform that is starting to print more money for Amazon. They don't have a physical presence like a Whole Foods. So I don't know if you can actually say they could do it unless they start buying and start using some of that market cap to buy pieces. But even so, you got to integrate those pieces in, and Amazon is already on to like the next thing. So
not only that, honestly, they just don't. With all the difficulties Amazon has, it retains the trust of the marketplace. Still got it, because it's still the first place you go to buy anything. Right? You don't think twice about it. Oh, do I not trust Amazon anymore? No, you just go and do it. It's routine that people do it. It's not a it's not a step two, right? It's the first thing you do. You go to Amazon and look first, and then you go elsewhere if you can't find it. And other than that, you order it. And here's the other thing to keep in mind: with all the early on supply chain difficulties Amazon had, they really don't have them that much anymore. I can speak from I mean, I'm ordering almost daily from there. And I will tell you this, look, the whole foods issue when the thing just, the delivery chain broke. Now it's completely fixed. And not only is a 2 hour window up, but you get it in a half hour usually, or 45 minutes. Right? You keep going. You look at Amazon logistically, and remember how they were say, well, non-essentials will be moved to the back. That's even gone now. They've got everything under control in the back end, which is their power. Right? No one has that power besides.
So let's take this back to what Brent was saying. Sorry about Brent.
That's okay, Bert.
In other words, so hey, Pestilence is the name, dude.
DP, digital pestilence.
But let's go back to what Brent was saying. I mean, does somebody need to buy Shopify in order to compete effectively with Amazon, right? Is there somebody who could actually do that? I mean, would it make sense for Facebook to truly, they partnered with Shopify recently to do what is it called, the shops?
The shops, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, would they just acquire them, do that part, integrate to the platform better? Is this the right move, or like, is Amazon too far gone and nobody can catch them, like you were saying, Paul?
Well, look, ultimately, down a road, anyone can be caught eventually, right? But that's long down the road right now. And honestly, Facebook Shops, I have no idea how well it's or poorly it's doing. Given Facebook is under such fire at this point that they're not dead in the waters, because again they have enough presence to sustain at least, let's say, a longer period of existence. But I'm not sure Facebook Shops is even. I mean, it came out. To be perfectly honest, from my standpoint, anyways, the last I even thought of it was the day I read about it, and since that time, I never looked at it even. So, and I'm not saying I'm the same as everybody else in the world, but I'm pretty close to everybody else in the world as far as my rather ordinary opinions on everything. So, so I buying it or not, I don't think it's really much of a. I'll put it this way: if Facebook Shops is considerably more successful, and maybe it is, I don't know, then it becomes a reasonable thought. Right now, it's, what do you call it? Pilot phase. So see how.
Well, the thing about it, Facebook would also be able to spread that across Instagram and WhatsApp. So, I mean, they do have certain levels that they could pull at it, but is that the best thing for them to do? I don't know.
Bringing this back to the CRM Playaz and the enterprise world. Do our clients, not the vendors, but our clients, the brands need to worry about addressing Facebook, shops, Shopify, Amazon, and Instagram, and separately? Do they have to create an integrated strategy, or do they just continue to go the way they've been going, where they put their own e-commerce site to sell stuff directly, and then they leave behind $108 trillion market in B2C e-commerce that they cannot address because they don't have that?
Well, look, I will tell you one thing, and that's it for me. That's still kind of a TBD. You shouldn't obviously leave behind $108 trillion market. That's kind of ridiculous. So, I'll see you later, right? But at the same time, I'm not sure a whole lot of companies are equipped to actually put together the pieces, especially right now, really make it a go. Okay. And I will say this, and you don't have to talk about vendors, but I can. I've always said, and I continue to maintain, that your commerce product, SAP's, was the best on the market when it was bought and remains so. And I'm not saying that because I love you, but I do, of course.
Forrester agree with you for the last 7 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't always agree with Forrester, but so I'm with you there. But I do think it. Look, it really is a genuinely powerful, great product, and you've evolved it considerably beyond its origin, and to your great credit. And you've made. If I had to pick a vendor that had made commerce a player that could threaten the fourth pillar, so to speak, it would have been SAP, right? It's the great strength of the company, one of the great strengths of the company. So,
I think, to be honest, I think that at this point, and I say this without in my SAP hat on, it's an open target for anybody. Any of the four large vendors, Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft, and SAP, can tap on that market, because none of us have done a good job of addressing all those different areas, right? So I think, but after saying that and getting fired and everything, I will say that the question remains, like, I think that there needs to be a competition to Amazon. Walmart and Shopify will be a good combination. I don't think this is something that an enterprise player can tackle on acquiring Shopify, but we can tackle the strategy and deliver a really great job. And I hope that's what it is, because that's what I'm driving. So
I will say this: as far as the big four go, if I were to pick one of them, Microsoft would be the best bet, without a doubt, to me, by far. It would give me close. But I don't.
Yeah, we better end it now before he hurts.
No. I learned about it in the last 6 months. I don't say things as I used to, but
I know.
All I'm thinking is,
Okay,
wow, does it? Maybe the next question should be: would it be easier for Amazon to enter the enterprise world than it would be for the enterprise players to enter the Amazon world? But we're not going to answer that right now.
But we may have you back on that.
We may have to talk about
that conversation, but you guys have stuff that you need to do, and I need to do some real interesting work.
Yeah, and give that guy a good tip. That's walking around fixing your office and stuff. That was
working from home. Okay, you can hear the dog barking in the background. I don't have babies, but I have people that and it is 10 degrees cooler already in here. So yay. Okay.
All right. Before we let you go, we're going to bring a quick hello, do a quick hello with Eric Hale, so you could greet him on your way out. How about that? Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us.
Fellas, how are you?
Really? I'm doing great. So we just wanted to bring you on for a quick hello, because Mr. Greenberg is getting ready to pick up whatever there it is that you guys sent him in, and literally go through it page by page for the next, I don't know how long. So
4 days.
You might want to settle in, get you a nice beverage, and sit back and enjoy.
Too.
Yeah.
And Mr. E, thanks for joining us, sir. We will see you somewhere down the line. Probably not that far down the line.
Thank you guys for the ability to discuss these things. It's fun, and glad to do it any other time. So talk to you later.
Absolutely. And remember, we've got the disclaimer. Whenever you want to come on, we've got it ready for you, man.
I actually asked for you for another podcast that I have to do later.
Take care, man.
Bye.
All right. So we're going to let Mr. Greenberg get the full screen effort, and then we'll bring you back on the other side.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brent.
All right. Yep. Talk to you soon. All right. So, second to last watch list winner, Creatio. Okay. So, I'll tell you a little backstory before we start. And then I also want to make sure you're clear on something before I get into detail here. So, as you know, and I'm going to repeat this next week too, the watch list this year is suspended because of the overall crisis, meaning combination of the pandemic and the social unrest too. There's no point in even trying to put together the watch list, because no one's going to actually have the time, make the effort, not be distracted around everything they have to do to just pretty much stay alive, right? And not submit a 100-page watch list questionnaire. So this year, no watch list. However, CRM Playaz, in combination with CRM Watch List, is sponsoring a basically doing good award. We're still working out some details on the criteria, but ultimately, if you're interested and you don't think for some reason Brent and I are tracking you, send us the name of your company or a company you think should be considered, and we'll do that. However, you don't have to do that. We are tracking companies, right? And the idea of this is who's responding of most in the enterprise tech world, and you don't have to be an enterprise tech company, with small business too. Who's responding of the most substantially, with the most empathy, with the most heart, right? And who's doing everything they can to support the people of the world in the midst of this crisis. And then at the end of the year, we will announce the winner of that award. There may be more than one winner, but that's a TBD yet. More details will come as we have them. That probably in about a week or two. But again, if you want your company or a company you know of to be considered, send me an email at paul-greenberg3@the56group.com, and we'll put them automatically on the list. Okay, no guarantee they're going to win, of course, but automatically on the list of companies that we'll investigate. So with that story, back in 2011, a number of us put together a competition called CRM Idol. CRM Idol turned out to be bigger than we expected and more important than we expected. It was based on American Idol. It was for emerging technology companies, small companies. In fact, you could not have revenue more than $7 million or you were not even eligible. But there were small companies who we thought, after all was said and done, would be the companies that had the most potential for success in the market, given their overall nature as a company, not just the technology they had. We had panel of 9 judges, 3 of which were on every call with all the initial auditions. If you made it to the semifinals, your entire management team had to be on a call, and then you would have a conversation with one of the analysts or influencers who was a judge. And then if you made the finals, you had to produce a video for under $7,000 that would then be publicly voted on. And then we had another panel of 100 judges who were there for the final vote on the video and on the company, and also to mentor companies along the way. A small company from Kiev called BPM Online, whose parent company was TerraSoft, also small, entered this contest. They were the very first we had 2 winners in the beginning. They were one of the 2 very first winners ever. That company is now Creatio. And they have easily been, since we ran the competition for 4 years, they have easily been the most successful company by far. And as I said, the very first time anyone ever won the competition. Now, why did they continue to be as successful as they were even back then when they were small? Well, one of the things that was consistent about Creatio, then BPM Online, was the quality of their product, the quality of their management team, and by the way, the creativity of their management team, and also their knowledge of how customers wanted to think about how to use technology, right? And the thing that's amazing is that since the beginning, they have done one thing which very few other companies have done. Not only have a platform back then, but they also have a fully integrated CRM suite, sales, marketing, customer service. And now, over the years, because they were so heavily process focused, with at the same time user interfaces that were actually usable for anybody back then, so they were very UX concerned. But at the same time, they've moved more dramatically toward low code, no code kind of approaches, and have proven the success of them with their customers. They built product. For example, they have what they call Studio, Creatio Studio. And the best way to describe how amazing that product is, look, there's a trend that we've seen that Brent and I have a lot of knowledge of too, called citizen apps. That's what it's pretty much, where the vendors provide you with the tools you need to build the apps yourself, even if you're a business user and not a developer. The way Creatio has been a leader in that for a long, long time. And the best way to describe it is you would go to a Creatio conference, and this is over the years, by the way. And at lunch or prior to lunch, they'd say, hey, we're going to do a contest. We want some people to build apps over lunch. And at the end of lunch, we'll have an app and we'll show it to everybody on stage. And you know what? Never failed. Every single time, 2 people picked out of the audience, went, sat down, built apps, showed them at lunch or after lunch, and they were complete, simple but complete apps using Creatio Studio. That's the quality of the product. The integration of the 3 CRM pieces, meaning they've understood that CRM isn't just sales from, the sales, marketing, customer service is very tight. It's extremely valuable for companies who want to basically be ready to roll, rather quickly, but with full capabilities. Their power tends to lie in the mid-market with some upstream possibility, right? Some, but it's mostly sits in the mid-market, which is where their power has been. Now, if that was all they had, that wouldn't win them this, really. But there's so many other things that they've done well over the years. And again, some of this literally by seat of their pants. I mean, this is a company that historically has been completely homegrown, no investors, nothing up to this point. And yet, it's not easy to do something when you don't have the money to really scale up. I'm not saying you shouldn't take money. You should if you got the opportunity and you think you want to really scale. But these guys did some amazing things. So, for example, and it's resulted in, I'll call it, the market impact per pound is just off the charts as a result. So, for example, they have been leaders in 2 Magic Quadrants in 2019. Leaders. They were in the SFA Magic Quadrant and Lead Management Quadrant. They were leaders in Gartner's MQ. And the other leaders were typically Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle, and SAP, and them. That was kind of what you saw, right? That's how strong they are. In the last year in Forrester, they were strong performers, I think, I want to say it's either 6 or 7 Forrester waves, right? They're in a number of other, they're on a number of other Magic Quadrants from Gartner, meaning they're at one of the other corners, so to speak. But they are consistently showing up in the press. They're consistently out there when it comes to customers. Now, that's where how do you get to the point where you're not the biggest company in the world, but you have an impact that goes far beyond your, let's say, market size, right? Far beyond. And at the same time are constantly growing and evolving. Well, they have understood the other pieces that it takes to build an ecosystem. Their outreach program, which was built by one of the people you saw the comment on, Olga Noha, right? It's fantastic. I mean, they're very much in a sense like now they have somebody else running analyst relations, but they were a single person machine. Thunderhead had like Lucy Cooper. Olga is who does it for Creatio, right? She built this machine that just got all the analysts highly interested in what they're doing. And interestingly enough, and you have to take this into account, really liking the company, kind of what Sandy does at Zoho too. It's very similar, right? Which is the analysts not only respect the company, they like the company because they like the people they're dealing with who treat them with respect and who are respected as a result too. And so, and again, these are seat of the pants, kind of build it up on your own. The other thing that Creatio has done exceptionally well, and should be a lesson for a lot of companies, is the way they actually have built their partner network. Now, interestingly enough, it's not a normal partner model. Normal partner models have more GTM type partners, more go-to-market partners than Creatio does. Creatio has, though, instead, they've always had a very strong VAR kind of reseller model, but it now goes considerably further. The way they partner with their customers is by saying, okay, I'll tell you what, we have 24 verticals, which they're very strong in, really good vertical models. We have 24 verticals that we can play in. I'll tell you what, partners, we'll handle these 4. You handle the other 20. You build the vertically specific process maps. You build the technology we need to be in these verticals, and we will collaborate with you to go deep in those verticals. And that includes things like manufacturing, which for those of you who might or might not be aware is a very hot sector at the moment for almost every vendor, is manufacturing, CRM related manufacturing stuff. The combination of that kind of partner program where the partners have good revenue opportunity and at the same time love working with Creatio and actually have specific territories that they can work, and that Creatio doesn't step in and try to like take away from them when the time seems to be right because it's going well, but in fact supports them in that combination starts providing a lot of the market impact. The other thing though, and the final thing I want to talk about with Creatio is, you remember I said they have a strong management team. Well, what comes from management is vision and mission. And again, you've heard me talk about vision and mission as a very important component of the watch list and of really, when I say that, meaning of the company, right? That because it's essentially what everything else you do stems from. Now they have a messaging slogan, which is everyone a developer, but that's really not their vision or their mission. So here's their vision. We create a world in which any business idea can be automated in minutes, which goes to, of course, low code, no code, and things like that. And the mission is, our mission is to help companies accelerate. Now, initially, I have to be honest, when I heard accelerate, I thought it was kind of overdone. And, I still have a little of that, I have to say. I think they use the word too much. But I'm much further along in understanding where they came from when you couple it with automated in minutes, because you get the tasks at hand out of the way quickly. It gives you the ability to take the time to accelerate, to rapidly evolve your business possibility. And Creatio actually has built out a large number of capabilities to do just that. Now, again, they're very process focused, very technologically focused, but they're also very creative. Now, because I have a long-standing relationship to them, every birthday they send me something, right? Now, it's an adorable present is the best way to put it. I'm going to show you one. Arguably one of my all-time favorite birthday presents. It's a Paul Greenberg bobblehead. Right, that was one from a few years ago. They hadn't made the name change. The other indication of their creativity, although I guess we're not showing it today, is that when they made the name change last October to Creatio from BPM Online, they did something that I have to say I've never thought. There's probably no other company on the planet that would have even considered what they did, and they did it. They had, I am not kidding, we'll put the link up in the show notes. They literally had 100, I think it was 163 of their employees, including the management, many of the management team, jump out of airplanes with big signs saying Creatio. And I'm not kidding. It wasn't like photoshopped or lightroomed or anything like that. They literally jumped out of airplanes, which of course, being a Jewish mother, terrified me, right? So I was frightened to death that day. I'll never forget it, that somebody was going to get hurt. But you can't argue for impact, because the right kind, as it turned out, not the wrong one. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're willing to they did a Christmas video to everybody where the entire management team stood there and just danced. I mean, they have a sense of humor. They understand the nature of the company. They engage deeply with the analysts and influencers that they deal with. They engage deeply with their customers. They provide good partners with partnering revenues for their partners, in addition to working with them and collaborating, and not trying to say, oh, this is lucrative, now we're going to take it from you. They stick with it and keep supporting those partners. And all in all, they have a fantastic low code, no code platform. And honestly, that's exactly what went through the watch list. And again, pound for pound, I don't know a company that has more marketing impact than they do, given their size. Nobody. So with that, the winners.
So I gotta, before we start asking questions, I gotta say, with the name change and the jumping out of the plane thing, you know what came to mind? Do you remember the WKRP episode, the Thanksgiving episode with the flying turkeys?
Yes.
As God is my witness, I thought they could fly. That's what came to mind when you told me that they were going to be doing this thing. I was like, oh my God, I hope I hope this thing works out.
And I was so scared that day. I'll never forget it. I literally like watched it, but it was already recorded by the time it was up. So I assumed that since it was up, that nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, so hi, Eric.
Hey, good to see you guys, Brent. Nice to see you.
Absolutely. So, how long have you been with Creatio?
God, it feels like forever, but I think it's been about little under 3 years now. So, been a whirlwind. Always a big fan of having conversations. With you guys, Paul. You know how much you're loved here at Creatio. So, it's great to be here.
So Eric, you're like global. I'm going to just call you global head, not global director. Global head of sales enablement. Now, first tell us what that is and what you do, and then I'm going to ask you a question about the term sales enablement.
Sure, yeah. Really my responsibility, and I'm kind of new to the role here, was with the strategic account team prior to taking on this role. But really what I'm responsible for is kind of aligning our go-to-market strategy from marketing to our sales team to operation, and really enabling our sales team to have the information that they need when, where they need it, to make sure that they are able to address customer needs very specifically. So enabling all of those different channels is really what I'm responsible for. But I wear many different hats as well. As you're aware, you've taken part in some of our online digital events. So I've been focused on doing a lot of that activity as well. But really, it's making sure that our sales reps are equipped with what they need when they need it.
All right. So now I'm going to ask you a question that thought leaders are arguing over for the last century. Sales enablement, sales optimization, sales acceleration. And knowing you guys, I'm surprised it's not acceleration, actually.
I'm trying not to use that term, Paul, honestly.
Sales acceleration. There's so many terms out there that, let's say that the nuances are very slim, meaning there aren't really very many, meaning they're pretty much all the same thing. Not entirely, but close. So if you have your preferences, which one would you use of those three, or even a fourth that I didn't?
I would call it sales consistency, right? Like that's really what it's all kind of about, right? We're trying to make consistent processes in place that we can repeat our sales initiatives, right? That's really what I feel our responsibility is. So whether that's optimization, enablement, anything, is really just to kind of create a process that's repeatable. And that's, I guess that would be a new term. Maybe it's sales consistency direct.
Sounds better than enablement, optimization, or acceleration. So what about, so what's that? Okay, there's a number of people who kind of have, let's call it, approximately similar roles to you, but not identical. What does that actually day-to-day mean you do? I mean, what actually happens in a given day with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So within a given day, my job is to onboard new employees and make sure that they get ramped up quickly and indoctrinated into our sales methodology. So we've been lucky enough, knock on wood, that we're still in hiring mode. A lot of organizations aren't having that luxury right now. So we're in hiring mode. We're onboarding new employees, making sure that they get up to speed on our sales methodologies. Equipped with all of the tools that they'll need to be successful. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is working with the existing sales team to help them kind of better understand their opportunities and structure of deals, and enabling them to have better conversations with their customers. So I get heavily involved in a lot of deal reviews. Kind of giving, my expertise. I know you probably can't tell, but right now there's a lot of gray hair on this head from the 20 years I've been in sales. come across a lot of things. So kind of sharing that knowledge and helping those sales reps navigate those deals to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward, and we can hit our targets, hit our forecast. That's really what my day-to-day is, and we've got a big sales team, so across the globe, as you know. So my day starts at 7 a.m. and doesn't end to 7 p.m. So it's long hours.
Long hours.
Well, talk about a little. We're in this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
How are the conversations between your sales folks and your customers? What's on the mind of your customers, and what are they needing from you guys specifically in the midst of all this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brent. And if the one thing that the pandemic has kind of exposed, it's broken processes, right? People have had to kind of minimize their operations or even shut down certain aspects of their operations, and it's kind of left them in a quandary as to how they're still going to provide the same level of service to their customers. How are they going to maintain collaboration amongst their teams? So I think that and it's probably very similar to what you guys are seeing as well, right? I mean, this is really where CRM and business process management, low code, can come into play very easily. During times of crisis like this, people need to adapt to new ways of doing business. So they're asking us, how do we take all of our legacy applications or even point solutions and tie them together? How do we maintain collaboration amongst our team if we're not in a single location? Well, we're being tasked with helping them through that process, and we've kind of stepped up with some different programs to help them. What's really encouraging to me, though, is our partner network. Our partners have been great. Partners like Tata Consultancy have come in and offered up free services to help organizations design processes. How do we handle this change in your operations? So we've been fortunate enough to have very good response from our customers. We've had a lot of inquiries from different organizations. Paul, you mentioned Olga and her consultancy machine. Well, she's now turned into the digital event queen. We have over 500 digital events globally. So we're starting to get more and more leads, based on that, because we're trying to share that thought leadership at this point. And we've been fortunate enough to have great conversations, Brent. So, I hope that's what, the rest of our CRM community is seeing as well.
Well, I'll tell you, to your point on events, when you did live events, they were astounding. I remember, I think it was 2019, you went to St. Petersburg in Russia, and you had 5,000 people at the event. Then you went to Kiev and had it was Kiev 5,000, and St. Petersburg had 3,500. And I was in Indonesia with you guys last September, and there were 650 people at that event. And that was only because that's all the room would hold. I think there were 2,400 registrants, right? So, I mean, you guys, I've never seen a machine like that before. Again, your events are bigger than vendors 30, 40, 50 times your size. Now, let me ask you this. Given that, are you seeing similar events, maybe not that big, but those kind of sizes when you're doing the digital events?
I mean, we've had a few that have been, pretty extensive. I know, Paul, you joined us for one early on in the pandemic. That was internal, along with some partners. We had a pretty good audience for that. But, we're seeing good attendance, throughout these events. And we've actually seen, like I said, it's helped out increase the level of leads and things that are coming in. So we're reaching a far broader audience in terms as well. So it's been very successful. We're looking forward to get back to the live events because we love those. We love having you guys there. Always appreciate listening to you talk, Paul, in particular. We love you too, Brent, by the way. Don't take offense. But Paul's been engaged for a number of years. So we're looking forward to getting back to that. But again, I think our marketing team has just done a phenomenal job putting together these events and really driving, our message, throughout the globe, really. That in times of crisis, we can help you. You mentioned our tagline: automate business ideas in minutes, right? So that's our goal, is to provide a platform that's going to enable organizations to adapt to this change very quickly and easily.
Well, you have one that proves it. I'll say that. And I'd say one final question.
Sure.
You guys have a band?
Do we have a band? So I've watched some of your previous episodes, and that was my biggest thing coming into this was I don't have any discernible entertainment skills. So I'm not sure about the rest of my colleagues, but we would definitely step up if there's a battle of the bands. If we don't have one, we'll make one. Again.
All right. Well,
we create ideas instantly. That's what we do.
Well, I have to say one thing. Brent and I take that as a commitment, by the way.
All right. That's fine. You got it.
We don't take it as just like, a loose statement. So I'm putting Creatio on the list and taking in one more slot taken. All right. All right, then, sir.
And on that note, we better end this one. But Eric, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you again. Great seeing you. And thanks again for including us in the watch list, guys. Really, really appreciate it.
John says there is a band named Creatio. Well,
I'll
put it
there. It is.
John.
Oh, let me get this last one up here too. Although I don't know why.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up because Paul, I see in the background there. That's an offline discussion. We don't need to.
No, it's with me and Brent. It's an offline.
Oh, look at that. Nice comment. There it is.
Big hug.
All right. Hey, so we will be back tomorrow, and we got a special excuse the intrusion for tomorrow because, well, it's Paul's favorite football team being represented. You want to tell them who it is?
Yeah, we've got an old friend of Brent and mine, Russell Cibetti, and Russell is the Vice President of Business Intelligence and Strategy for the New York Giants. And he's also, by the way, one of the biggest business influencers in the sports world. So he was. We'll talk about him with him and about him tomorrow.
You know what I like when I put it on LinkedIn that he was going to be on, and I did the @ New York. They put New York Football Giants, not just the New York. Like it hasn't been the New York Baseball Giants since what 57. Right. Yeah. I think we could kind of drop that at this point, but I like it. I like the New York Football Giants.
Yeah. I'm there with you. I wish shirts all say New York Giants, so they don't say New York Football Giants. But I wonder if there's one. I'll look into that and I'll let you know tomorrow.
And on that note, folks, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And for Eric Hale, we are all CRM Playaz, and we will see you tomorrow.